निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे We'll decide the Guru Shishya Parampara. You may remember your spiritual master. परम पूज्य राधानाथ स्वामी महाराज, एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद, भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती, गौर किशोर, भक्ति विनोद, बलदेव जगन्नाथ, विश्वनाथ, नरोत्तम, कृष्णदास, रघुनाथ जीव, रूप स्वरूप सनातन, श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु, ईश्वरपुरी नित्यानंद अद्वैत, माधवेंद्रपुरी, लक्ष्मीपति, व्यास तीर्थ, ब्रह्मण्य तीर्थ, पुरुषोत्तम, जयधर्म, राजेंद्र, विद्यानिधि, दयानिधि, ज्ञान सिंधु, जयतीर्थ, अक्षोभ्य, माधव, नृहरि, पद्मनाभ, मध्व, व्यास, नारद, ब्रह्मा, श्री कृष्ण. Hare Krishna, welcome all of you for Bhakti Vaibhav course. We are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter number 10, departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. And I think, yeah, on 23rd number verse. So we discuss till verse number 22. So this was the last verse. The personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his different parts and parcels, the living entities, place them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate. So all of these are verses spoken by the Kuru ladies, right? Okay. Then we'll continue with the 23rd. Rakshadavi Mataji, can you recite the verse?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Please recite.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Savayam yat yat padam atra surayo jitendriya nirjita matara matarishvana pashyanti bhaktya utkalitamalaatmana navesha sattvam parimashrum arhati. Translation also, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please read the translation. Yes.
Yes. Here is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead whose transcendental form is experienced by the great devotees who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses. And that is the only way to purify existence. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Prabhupada says that as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord can be known in his real nature by dint of pure devotional service only. So which is this verse in the Gita?
Bhaktya mam abhijanati.
Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan ichchashmi tattvata. So in the third chapter 3.9, Krishna says Janma karma cha me divyam evame vyati tattvata. Tatyadeham punarajanmanati mameti so Arjuna, right? So those who understand my appearance and disappearance.
Prabhuji, 4.9.
Yeah, sorry, 4.9, yes. So those who understand my appearance and disappearance, my pastimes, tatvata. Just a minute. Huh? Okay, so the Lord says that those who understand my appearance and disappearance and all my activities, tatvata, they only can attain my nature, right? Attain my abode. And what is the way to understand that? That is explained in the 11th chapter. So you have to cross through 4th chapter till 11th chapter. Then you get the answer. It is only by devotion, by only bhakti. It's not by just reading some books or some mechanical process like Ashtanga yoga or Dhyana yoga, or even if you take, of course, devotional processes, they always give agyat sukriti to the living entities, but still if not performed properly, they may take millions of lifetimes. Only when we wholeheartedly perform, like in the 5th chapter it is said, tat buddhya tadatmanas tannishta tatparayana gachanti apanaravrtim jnana nirdosha kalmasham, is 5 and 17. So tad buddhya tadatmanas tannishta. So with our intelligence, with our mind, with our nishta and everything, when we take shelter of the Lord, wholehearted shelter, then only that full purification is possible. That's what Prabhupada in this verse explains. Last line of the verse, Nanvesha Sattvam Parimrashtum Arhati. Parimrashtum, for purifying the mind completely. Arhati means deserve. And that is the only way to purify the existence. The other day I was hearing a Maharaj lecture. This is from 11th Canto, Song of the Avanti Brahman. I'll forward the link also of that lecture. I have not. I gave it to the other groups. So in that lecture, Maharaj was saying that Avanti Brahman, when he lost everything and when he was treated very badly by everyone, he says one of the verse which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas, recites. Right? He says that nobody is responsible for my this current situation. Who is responsible? He says neither the demigods, neither the past karma, neither the people who are abusing me. Nobody is responsible. Neither the Lord. Who is responsible? My mind. Right? He says that my mind is responsible. And therefore, unless the mind is purified, what happens is we are not ready to take responsibility for our actions in this world. So therefore, many of the times we may assign different factors for our current situation. So we may say this is because of that person, this is because of my past karma, or this is because of demigods, or this is because of some planetary situations. But all these things, they are arranged. Definitely past karma is there, but the past karma itself is the indicator of impure mind. Because of the impure mind, we commit actions which are not in harmony with our relationship to the Lord, and therefore we are rather we are punished for those actions. So unless we purify mind, there is no way out of this world. So therefore, Avanti Brahman says that it is the impure mind only, and unless we purify that by the process of devotional service, and as will be highlighted here in this purport also, which begins with the chanting of the holy names: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So unless we do that, there is no point in analyzing or philosophizing, or I mean whatever you do. At the end of the day, unless our mind is pure, nothing will work. Whatever we may try to do mechanically, or sometimes devotees they feel that okay, I'll know. I mean, of course, devotional process is to purify the mind, but at least first of all, we need to recognize that I am impure, and my goal is to become pure, so that I can enter into the devotional life. Without entering into devotional life, if we expect that I'll become devotee, that doesn't happen. We have to enter devotional life. Then only you are called as devotee. And for that purpose, we need a pure mind, because unless we are pure in mind, we cannot serve properly. And for that, we have to perform devotional service. Like what here Prabhupada says that it is stated here that only the great devotees of the Lord who are able to clear the mind of all material dust by rigid devotional service can experience the Lord as He is. Jitendriya means one who has full control over the senses. Right? And then of course Prabhupada gives the understanding that senses cannot become inactive or inert, but they need to be given good engagement. And Prabhupada gives the comparison further ahead. Even in the case of great yogis like Vishwamitra Muni controlled the senses by yogic trance, but when he happened to meet Menka, he became a victim of sex, and the artificial way of controlling the senses failed. The senses need real engagement. That's what Prabhupada says often in the Bhagavad Gita. But in the case of pure devotee, the senses are not at all artificially stopped from doing anything, but they are given different good engagement. So when we come to this sense, then our Krishna consciousness will awaken within us, because then that platform will not be shaky, will last long. Unless we come to that platform, like here in the case of Vishwamitra Muni, we will fall 100 times, rise 100 times, again fall, again rise, and that will go on life after life. And then Prabhupada further ahead gives, Prabhupada says that in the Bhagavad Gita it is said that the senses can be controlled only by better engagement. Devotional service necessitates purifying the senses or engaging them in the activities of devotional service. Devotional service is not an inaction. Anything done in the service of the Lord becomes at once purified of its material nature. So actually everything within this material creation is impure with the three modes of material nature. Anything that we contact day in day out, every time we do anything in this world, every time we have a good amount of contamination, isn't it? So we are living in a place is something like you go to the epidemic place where there is an epidemic going on, say cholera or TB or something. How much careful you will be to safeguard yourself. But because this disease is not visible grossly, we think that everything is fine. The air is fine, the water is fine. The person in front of me is looking, in good dress. He's taken, having good clothes, and he's appearing very gentleman. But the modes are invisibly, present. The modes of passion, ignorance within them. And unless we act at that level and find out that if this person is in the mode of passion, or whether this other person is in the mode of ignorance, accordingly we have to deal with them. You will not deal with the same kind of you will not have same interaction with different peoples, those who are in the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. accordingly we have to deal, right? So therefore Prabhupada says here that anything done in the service of the Lord, I mean, then we have to total everything in the service of the Lord. Then the effect of Rajas and Tamas, at least these two base, modes, their effect is nullified, and then things become, suitable for offering them to the service of the Lord without us getting contaminated, right? So Prabhupada says then the material conception is due to ignorance only. There is nothing beyond Vasudev. The Vasudev conception is gradually developed in the hearts of the learned after a prolonged acceleration of the receptive organs. But the process ends in the knowledge of accepting Vasudeva as all in all. Right? So last line Prabhupada says, therefore controlling the senses by devotional service is the only and easiest means. There is no other way. And then with such purified existence, we can, behold the Lord, for a long time. Otherwise, with impure mind, it's not possible. So all these ladies in the from the Kuru family, they are beholding the Lord, isn't it? But they are able to do so because of their pure mind. It's something like we start chanting Hare Krishna, but the mind itself is so impure. Now you may say, to by chanting Hare Krishna will become pure. So it's actually an ongoing process. One devotee I was interacting, I gave a few lectures to hear. The devotee was telling, I already heard so much. Let me apply that. How much I should hear now more? So I said, yes, that's true, but it's an ongoing process. And one aspect of applying what we have heard is to hear more, isn't it? What we have already heard, we have to keep hearing again. That's one of the, Shravanam Kirtan, one of the, first 2-3 elements. It's not that you hear today and then you say, okay, whatever I have heard, I'll apply. And then in that application only the first item will come here again, isn't it? So when we hear, that means we are ready, we are getting ready to hear more. Not that, I'll stop the hearing and then I'll start, any other activity. No. So activity, any other activity will be there. Like, you may do some other services for the Lord. But then without a steady hearing, other services cannot go on for long. Because you need the, continuous reminder that this is what I am supposed to do. And that's possible only by hearing. Right? And then as we hear, so apply whatever we have heard. And part of that is to hear, we get eventually purified. And then we become finally fit. So, we have to keep continuing like that. So Avanti Brahman there, he says like that. That unless the mind is, and then Maharaj lecturer was saying that nobody is ready to acknowledge and accept that it is their mistake. It is because of them they are suffering, not because of so many factors which Avanti Brahman describes. So ultimately it's up to us only to purify our mind. And then we can, and see, therefore Maharaj was saying that Avanti Brahman then was actually feeling, like when he was in prosperity, he was so much honored, he was treated very well. So naturally he will feel good. But when he was dishonored, not treated well, he lost everything. That time also, after he understood that my mind alone is the cause and I need to purify and control it. That time he became calm, peaceful, isn't it? The people were, spitting on him, urinating on him, throwing stones at him, but he was unaffected because he understood, the peace of, real peace of mind, not just external peace, but internal. He internalized it, and that's how he continued on. So unless we accept that and be ready to take responsibility, it's not possible for us to attain the peace of the mind. And then in the 24th verse, yeah, Aruna Sumiki Mataji, you can recite the verse and read the translation as well.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Tava ayam mukhyanu satkato vedeshu guhyeshu saguhyavadibihi ya ekaisho jagatatmalinaya srujatyavatyaptina tatra sajjate. Oh dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead whose attractive and confident pastimes are described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature by his great devotees. It is he only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world and yet remains unaffected. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so see such philosophical message they are giving. So in the Vedic time, everyone was very well versed in understanding of the scriptures. What they say is the Lord, He creates, maintains, and annihilates, yet He remains unaffected. It's not like us that when we create something and then on top of that, when we maintain that, we become very, very attached to whatever our creation and whatever we are maintaining it, isn't it? So, say for example, you build a house or you buy a new flat or car or whatever with your hard-earned money. Isn't it that we get attached to that? Or we raise our kids and we expect a certain kind of reciprocation from them. We become attached. Or we invest in someone, some person. We expect that this person should, behave in a particular way. We become highly attached, and therefore we get entangled. We get affected. We don't understand that investing is one part, but return may come or may not come. That return is not in your hand. That return is in the hands of Supreme Lord. If He sanctions, so of course, everyone has a role to play. Suppose you are, investing in some people, or say for example your own kids. So you have to perform your responsibility. You perform your duty. Rest of the things will be taken care by Krishna. How they should return to you. So we may express our desires, we may express our will, but then if it is not sanctioned by Krishna, then things will not happen. And if we do not understand this philosophy, then most of the time we get affected, because our minds are so involved emotionally, either with those persons or either with those assets, whatever we have accumulated through our hard work, and we are not ready to give up, thinking that I am the creator, I am the maintainer. So through whatever you work, is not that you are working. In one of the book, I think, which book? Yeah, Matchless Gift. Prabhupada says that you may think that you are working, but actually you are not working. So a laborer may think that I am working with these hands, but Prabhupada says these hands are not your hands. These are God's hands, isn't it? So you may say, no, what are you saying? You're stupid. These are my hands. How come they are God's hands? These are my hands. See, this is my body. These are my hands. I'm working. I'm writing. I'm doing everything. But then Prabhupada says that you will realize this when the power to work with these hands is taken away. That time you will realize. And that will happen according to different situations in your life. Ultimately, finally, it will happen at the moment of death, that the power will be taken away. Now you have the power to move your hand. Okay, you will say, oh hand, please pick up the phone, pick up the glass of water, or do anything, whatever you want. But a time will come when you order, please bring this to me. Then hand will say, I'm sorry, sir. I'll not be able to do that, because now the power is been taken away by the time factor. The time factor is nothing but the Supreme Lord only, right? So because Krishna manifests himself in the form of time, usually we don't realize that it is Krishna only. People say, Kal aa gaya, time. But Krishna says, Kalosmi lokokshay pravruddho. Krishna says that time I am, and I have come to devour everyone. You know, and Krishna's, when Krishna, decides to lift someone or to put him down someone, that actually happens, with 100% accuracy. It's not that, we plan something and we say that, okay, I'll do this, but there may be a success or may not be success. But Krishna's plans are always 100% success, successful. So therefore, here as the verse says, that Lord is not attached. Sajati avatti ati na tatra sajjate. Sajjate means becomes attached to it. Srimad Bhagavatam is filled with so much beautiful philosophy. If we regularly on daily basis, if we hear something or read something through Prabhupada or our acharyas or our Guru Maharaj or senior Vaishnavas, so much we can be saved from mental agitation and so much from getting entangled mentally, emotionally in this world, which eventually going to uh, entangle ourselves in the karmic reactions, isn't it? So just this one understanding that Lord is unattached. Why? Because he is not attached to his creation. And on the other hand, we are attached when we create something. Prabhupada says that, yeah, it is said, Ya eka isho jagat atma lileya. That is his lila. Just like children, they play and they try to build the house at the bank of the river or ocean. But when the father calls, okay, beta, come back. Now we have to go home. So the children, they don't say that, oh, this is my house. They also understand this is Baba just a play, a duplicate house. My original home is somewhere. I have to go back. So similarly, when Lord is calling us, the Lord says that, okay, now enough. Come back to my abode. So we say, no. How come I can go? I have so much responsibility here. Like once Indra was, he became, hog. Prabhupada often times give this story for some reason. And Brahmaji came to reclaim Indra. So Indra said, hog Indra. So Indra said, no, how can I go? I have my family. I have my kids. I have responsibility to send them to school, to raise them, to feed them. Completely, we get so much, caught up in illusion that we completely forget who we are, from where we came. But here the Lord is saying, for the Lord, this is Leela. And this, why we get caught up? Because we are emotionally attached. So this is the factor. Everything happens at the surface of the mind, conscious and subconscious mind. So conscious mind is, just visible right now in front of all of us. But the subconscious mind has so many impressions, so many attachments, so many aversions, So these both are equally, attaching. Aversions and attachments, negative, positive. Negative also attaches us to this world. Positive also attaches to this world, right? And then Prabhupada says that in the purport, what he says? Actually, he's giving more a kind of refutation to the Mayavad. In such Vedic literature, in between somewhere in the middle, he writes, in such Vedic literatures as the Upanishads, the Lord has expressively been distinguished from the mundane conception of his existence, his identity being fully spiritual, his form, name, quality, paraphernalia have been elaborately distinguished from matter, and therefore he is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent person as impersonal. Right. Okay, so we may not go into that. You already know that. We can discuss it further ahead. Read it further ahead. But then we are just deriving some lessons from the verses. Okay, and then verse number 35th, sorry, 25th. Yeah, Vrindavanila Mataji, you would like to read verse as well as translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah,
Dandavat Prabhu.
yeah.
यदा हि अधर्मेण तमोधियो नृपा जीवन्ति तत्रैष हि सत्त्वतः किल धत्ते भगं सत्यमृतं दयामि यशो भवाय रूपाणि ददत् युगे युगे. Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest modes of existence, the Lord in his transcendental form manifests his supreme power, the truth positive, shows special mercy to the faithful, and performs wonderful activities and manifests various transcendental forms as is necessary in different periods and ages. Hare Krishna.
Okay, fine. So now, here in this verse, in the previous verse, they said that Lord is transcendental, he's not attached, like all of us. So if he's transcendental, then why does he appear in this world? That's the question that we asked. And the answer is, he appears is something like 4.78 in the Bhagavad Gita. He appears so that he can establish the rule of dharma. So that, now, yeah, another thing, as the last verse is, he's indifferent sometimes, in case of this, unaffected, or rather indifferent. So one may say that why then he appears in this world if he is not attached, if he is indifferent, but he is not actually indifferent. He appears for a reason, and that reason is given in this verse, 25th verse, that he appears to establish the rule of dharma, so that, yeah, in the verse it is said, where there are kings like administrator like living like animals, to remove them, to show the special mercy to the faithful, perform wonderful activities, and manifest various transcendental forms. It is necessary in different periods and ages. That there, see, and for the Lord to come and appear and perform his pastimes, we need the rule of dharmic people, isn't it? So that they can support. Of course, Lord is independent, but still he appears to be dependent for the sake of pastimes, and also so that devotees get chance to serve him. And therefore, it is one of the reasons why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't appear as God in the Kali Yuga. Why? Because no one is ready to accept God as God. So he is intelligent. So he says, no, I can't appear as God. I'll come as a devotee of the God. Because if I come as a God, nobody is ready to accept me. People want to, just like Prabhupada often says that people will, pay a lot of money to just watch and see the mimicry of the, dog barking done by, some human being. They pay a lot of money. But actual dog is barking, so many dogs are barking in the street. So nobody will say, nobody will praise them. Nobody will see them. So people are so foolish in the age of Kali that they want duplicate things. So also duplicate gods. So, and when real God comes, they will say, yeah, real God. So they will doubt. So Krishna doesn't want to make himself a laughing stock. He understands that, this will not work. So he comes as a devotee. And then he performs, his leelas in delivering the demons like Jagai Madai, making them devotees. And seeing that the other people, they believe, okay, he's God. He's delivering such, terrible demons. So definitely I also, can be get, delivered. Right? So therefore, he comes, and for that purpose, there is a need of rule of dharmic peoples. Prabhupada writes here in the purport that as mentioned above, the cosmic creation is the property of the Supreme Lord. This is the basic philosophy of Vishwamishad. Everything is the property of the Supreme Being. No one should encroach upon the property of the Supreme Lord. See, this is the reason why we get attached in this world. Even the basics, few basic things we understand, will become so free of our mental, entanglements and attachments. If you realize that everything is the property of the Lord, where is the question of getting attached to that for our own sense gratification? See, why we are attached? Because something is giving me either subtle or gross sense gratification. That's why we are attached. If the sense gratification is removed, there is no question of getting attached, isn't it? And that's the truth, the naked truth of the material life. As soon as the sense gratification is stopped, then the person, the whales, the people, everything become useless for us. We throw them out. Why you are no more useful for me? Why? Because you are not now able to gratify my senses. And this fact, actually, nobody can satisfy. Even one, lecture. And in fact, Prahlad Maharaj says, Prabhupada quotes that in one Hindi lecture. He says that जिसकी सेवा कर रहे हैं वो भी खुश नहीं होता है और जो सेवा कर रहा है वो भी खुश नहीं होता है. The person whom we are serving and the person who is getting served both are dissatisfied. Why? Because they are trying to serve each other in illusion. They're supposed to feed the belly, but they he says that okay, give me milk, and he's pouring milk in his ear. You have to feed the milk to the mouth and then it will go to the stomach and it will nourish the whole body. He says, okay, give me milk, pour in my ear. He says, give me water, pour in my eyes. How that will work? It's not going to work. But in illusion, we are carrying out those things life after life, not understanding, not realizing that we are getting just cheated. And that's what the Prahlad Maharaj says, Punas Charvita Charvita Anand. Already what has been chewed, I mean, the things which don't have substance, we are trying to extract substance from them. The empty husk of the rice, however you beat, the rice is not going to come out. It's simply a labor. Beating is a labor. And the valuable human energy is getting spoiled out of such foolish activities. Yeah, it's a long purport, but I'll just highlight few things here. Page number 576, Prabhupada writes, the king or the administrator is the representative of the Lord to look after the management of the Lord's will. He must therefore be a recognized person like Maharaj Yudhishthir, right? Yeah, therefore we need such kings. The result is that the whole atmosphere becomes surcharged with anarchy and vicious elements, nepotism, bribery, cheating, aggression, if the kings are not Krishna conscious. That's what Prabhupada says. All the devotees of the Lord or the faithful are representative by all means. Are persecuted by all means. All these symptoms indicate the time of incarnation of the Lord, like that. And then in the paragraph number 2, last 3-4 lines in the paragraph, Prabhupada writes, but when they become intoxicated with the power of material science to exploit the resources unlawfully without the sanction of the Lord, and that also only for sense gratification, there is necessity of the Lord's incarnation to chastise the rebellious and to protect the faithful, like that. So for that purpose, he appears. And then 26th verse. Yeah, read. Aruna Sumuki Mataji, please read, recite the verse and translation.
Aho alam sha shlaadyatamam yadokula maho alam punyatamam madorvanam yadesha pumsam rishabhakshriya patihi swajanmana chankramanena chanchati. On how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, the husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and wandered in his childhood. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
so they are glorifying the land of Vrindavan, Mathura, in Yaduds, where Lord has performed his pastimes. Right. Prabhupada says in the purport, 4th or 5th line from the beginning, the sun arises on the eastern horizon, but that does not mean that the eastern horizon is the parent of the sun. So similarly, Lord appears in universes like the sun again and leaves our sight at another time. He exists all the time and at every place. But by his causeless mercy, when he appears before us, we take it for granted that he has taken his birth. Anyone who can understand this truth in terms of statements of revealed scripture certainly becomes liberated. Like Janma Karma Cha Divyam, something like that here. And then Prabhupada says further that such imperfect conclusions cannot give anyone liberation. Means if you do not understand Lord Tattvata, then Krishna remains like a cartoon in the Krishna serial. That's it. So you may watch Krishna serial, or nowadays they have Radha Krishna serials. So much costume, so much jewelry and this and that. The people, so much I don't know whether it was. Of course, definitely it's not exactly as what depicted in the scriptures, but so then people just see those external appearances and they also imagine that okay, so I'm also like Krishna and my girlfriend also like Radharani, so she's Radha, I'm Krishna, and let us have Dandiya, Ras Leela. That's it. That's what happens, and then there are then complications, entanglements in the material life, and that's how we get degraded. But we need to understand Krishna Tatvata, and then yes, 27th verse. Yes, Rakshadaji Mataji, you would like to read 27th verse and translation?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dana Pranam.
Please read.
Aho bat swayashastare kari. Nee, sorry. Aho bat swayashastiraskari. Kushasthale punya yashaskari bhuvaha. Pashyanti nityam yadanugraheshitam. Smitavalokam smayat prajaha. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please read the translation.
Undoubtedly, it is a wonderful that Dwarka has defeated the glories of the heavenly planet and has enhanced the calibrity of the earth. The inhabitants of Dwarka are always seeing the soul of all living beings, Krishna, in his loving feature. He glances at them and favors them with sweet smile. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so this verse actually demonstrates the glories of Dwarkavasis. Actually, Chaitanya was sharing that in the Vedic times, the heavenly planets are given a lot of importance in the Vedic Karma Kanda. But heavens are the most exalted destinations for Karma Kandis. But here it is contrasted with the spiritual world, the Dwarkavasis, that even those great personalities in the heavenly planet who are the destinations for the great Karmakandis, and that is the Vedic period where Karmakanda is given a lot of importance, Vedic rituals. But even they themselves don't get so much opportunity to serve Krishna, to have darshan of Krishna. There's such a rare darshan these Dwarkavasis are having, indirectly indicating that Dwarkavasis are more exalted than the heavenly planets. I mean, indirectly it is saying that spiritual world is way beyond what we may get here in the material world, even the heavenly planets. Prabhupada says that the heavenly planets are inhabited by demigods like Indra Chandra, right? And only the virtuous souls can reach there. Modern scientists agree that the timing arrangement in higher planetary system is different from that of the Earth. So of course I will not go in detail with that. Prabhupada is giving detailed understanding of heavenly planets and earthly planets, their differences of timing and all that, and of the spiritual world also. But in the second paragraph, Prabhupada says that third line, Dwarka is certainly more important than the heavenly planets because whoever has been favored with the smiling glances of the Lord shall never come back to this rotten earth, which is certified by the Lord himself as place of misery. Not only this earth, but also all planets of the universes are places of misery because in none of the planets within the universe is the eternal life, eternal bliss, eternal knowledge. Yeah, and then Prabhupada says, any person engaged in the devotional service of the Lord is recommended to live in one of the above mentioned three places, namely Dwarka, Mathura, Vrindavan. Because devotional service in these three places is magnified. Those who go there to follow the principles in terms of instruction imparted in the revealed scripture surely achieve the same result as often during the presence of the Lord, Sri Krishna. So these places are valued for their devotional service. So any other place, even within this earth, will be valued not for its architecture, not for its management, not for its gorgeous or I mean we may have many criteria to define a place to be a successful place. We may have good enterprise, good management, everything, but unless there is a devotion, that place is not recommended to stay or live for. The only criteria is devotional service. Sometimes even within India also, we have huge temples. So big architecture, people get mesmerized. Wow, I've not seen. So people are fascinated just by buildings externally, or they are fascinated by so much food is distributed freely. Or sometimes so much so many humanitarian works maybe getting done in those places. But unless there is a devotion, that place has no importance. And then 28th verse. Gandhi Prabhu, you can read translation because we have a very less time, so we'll just go through the translations.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Oh friends, just think of his wives whose hands he has accepted, how they must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the new universe to constantly relish now the nectar from his lips by kissing. The damsels of Brijbhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors. Hare Krishna, thank you, Babu.
Okay, so it is describing Vraja Gopis as well as the Mahishis, the queens of Dwarka. So of course here the glories of or the fortune of both the devotees as mentioned, the queens and the Vraja Gopis as well. Because queens, they were wedded wives, so they were always together with Krishna. And here, Sutta Goswami says the damsels of Rajabhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors, isn't it? So of course it may appear that then queens of Dwarka, they are more exalted than the gopis, isn't it? But of course then Prabhupada clarifies in the purport there are different rasas, Soki and Parkiya. And as we know through the commentaries of the Acharyas, the Parkiya ras is more enjoyable. Why? Because there is more risk. You have to run along, hide. So when there is running, hiding, so there is fun, there is thrill. And when you are officially, of course, so we can't imitate all those things here in the material world. But as far as the spiritual world is concerned, whatever is the lowest in the material world, that is highest in the spiritual world. And whatever is the lowest, is highest in the here, that is lowest there, right? So Parkiras here is abominable. And Sokiras is what we all should follow in terms of whatever we have, our familial ties up with, we were in the different ashrams. But in the spiritual world, that's the highest rasa. That Prabhupada clarifies. And of course, then they also say that it's not so easy. These relationships, they are not mundane. It is highlighted by the fact that they must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe. If it was mundane, then it would have been just any other ordinary relationship. You may get by some small tapasya, but not the small tapasya. Big tapasyas for many lives, right? And in fact, Prabhupada in the purport says that last 2-3 lines. Had such things been mundane, a liberated soul like Sukadeva Goswami would not have taken the trouble to relish them, nor would Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have been inclined to participate in those subject matters after renouncing worldly life. This stage is earned after many lives of penances. So it indicates the transcendental position of both the queens and the gopis of Dwarka. This is not an ordinary love affair like what we see in our regular material activities. And then 29th verse. Yeah. Venkatesh Avatar Prabhu, you would like to read the translation?
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. 29 number sloka. The children of these ladies are Pradyumna, Samba, Amba, etc. Ladies like Rukmini, Satyabhama, and Jamwati were forcibly taken away by him from their Swayamvara ceremonies after he defeated many powerful kings, headed by Shishupal. And other ladies were also forcibly taken away by him after he killed the Bhaumasura and thousands of his assistants. So all of these ladies are glorious.
Okay, so here they are giving brief synopsis of what all and how all the queens they married Lord Krishna, right? So total 16,100 queens. Prabhupada writes in the last 2 3 lines, yeah, not 2 3, but 4 or 5th line in the page number 584. You see that figure? There were 16,100 beautiful girls who were daughters of many kings and were forcibly stolen by Bhaumasur, who kept them captive for his carnal desires. These girls prayed piteously to Lord Krishna for their deliverance, and the merciful Lord called by their fervent prayer, released them all by fighting and killing Bhaumasur. Right? This is also another adventure. And of course, if you compare between Lord Krishna and Lord Ram, so Lord Ram actually banished Sita, and Lord Krishna he accepted all these ladies who were kept in captivity by a king, for the reason that Sita was living in captivity of Ravan. Lord Ram had to not banish exactly, but and he was Maryada Purushottam. See the difference between these are two different incarnations, but different moods and different roles they are playing. One incarnation, Krishna is accepting, okay, you come, and another incarnation, and these queens they were not wedded officially, but Krishna accepted them, got married to them, and Sita was married, but he told her to go away. Why? Because the mood of Ramayana is sacrifice. Sacrifice for the higher cause, to set an example. And in contrast to Krishna Lila, the mood is to uplift. These queens, they were apparently fallen in terms of Vedic custom. Why? Because once you are you are captured by someone or living with someone, then nobody will marry them again. But Krishna uplifted them, showing the another aspect of his incarnation. That Krishna, of course, both are actually trying to uplift us only. But as the prominent theme in the Krishna Lila and Ram Lila, if you want to highlight that, then you'll have to go by this. Actually, otherwise, for Lord Ram, it was not just question of right or wrong. If it was right, then Ram could have told citizens, "She is my wife. I can do anything, whatever I want. Either I keep her with me in palace, or I send to her. What is your problem?" But Ram didn't say that. He just followed, what was the custom of the Vedic society, like that. Yeah, and then what's number 30? Yeah, I would like to read. Who is here? Usha Sankari Mataji, are you there?
Hare Krishna
Yeah,
Prabhuji.
please read the 13th verse.
Translation, na Prabhuji? Or
Yeah, translation only.
Hare Krishna translation.
Hare Krishna.
All these women auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations.
Okay,
Hare Krishna.
so they are glorifying. So all these ladies must have been, Subhadra, Draupadi. Their names are not given, but these are the ladies who are speaking. auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personal God, never left them alone. Yeah, Prabhupada writes in the purport that the devotees of the Lord are purified souls. As soon as the devotee surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, sincerely the Lord accepts them. And thus the devotee at once becomes free from all material contamination. Right. So of course in the purport he gives further ahead. There are more materialistic and less than them are the Kiratas, Hunas, Andhras, Pulindas, Pulakas, Abiras. So we are all way beyond them. Huh? Don't think that these are the fallen category of people. No. Their names are in the Vedic history. Our names are not in that list only. We are completely outcast. But all of them can be delivered if they are properly engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Right? Yeah, Prabhupada writes in this next paragraph. The fallen girls under the clutches of Bhaumasur sincerely prayed to the Lord Krishna for their deliverance. And their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. The Lord therefore accepted them as his wives, and thus their lives became glorified, auspicious. And of course, then he says that, yeah, Prabhupada actually kind of going into the 10th canto Krishna Lila, but because he is a Brajavasi Krishna lover, he expanded himself into 16,001 planet portions. And then finally he writes further, he brought the Parijata plant from the heaven and implanted it at the place of Satyabhama, one of the principal queens. If therefore anyone desires the Lord becomes one's husband, the Lord fulfills such desires in full. Because Krishna is unlimited, he can unlimitedly become, husband of so many of us if we desire in that relationship. Or if we want him to become our son, he can become like that. Then we can serve him in Vatsalya Bhava. If we want him to become our friend, then he can become our friend. Something like that. Yes, and the 31st verse. Gandhi Prabhu, can you read? Translation 31st verse.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. While the ladies of the capital Hastinapur were greeting him and talking in this way, the Lord, smiling, accepted their good greetings, and casting the grace of his glance over them, he departed from the city. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you. So finally, Lord looked at them, accepted their good greetings. This is the actually mercy of the Lord. His glance. Many of the times we expect some other kind of reciprocation. Whether he increases our wealth, whether he increases our prestige, and like that. As we had already discussed in I think in last chapter or somewhere, that his mercy is his darshan. Because by his darshan, all our material desires will get wiped out. And that we don't want, unfortunately. That's our problem. We expect that our material desires be fulfilled. Then only we say Krishna is so merciful. But actually Krishna's mercy is otherwise. When Krishna removes our material desires, that's the mercy. Because of material desires, we have been suffering life after life. And Krishna is looking at us, how stupid he is. Even after suffering so long, he still wants the same thing. And he's thinking that unless I give him that, he'll not become my good devotee. But becoming a good devotee means surrendering everything to him and giving him all material desires, having only one desire to serve him, right? So he glanced at them, smiled, accepted their prayers, accepted all of them. In another way, he accepted all of them and then he departed further. Then in the 32nd verse, Venkatesh Adarbu, you can read 32nd.
Hare Krishna. The elementary creation of 16 items of matter, namely the 5 elements fire, water, land, air, and sky, sound, form, taste, smell, touch, and the eyes, ear, nose, tongue, skin, and mind, is known as the sarga, whereas subsequent resultant interaction of the modes of material nature is called visarga. Hare Krishna.
Which one you read?
Prabhuji, this is not 32.
32 you have to read, Prabhu.
वो
Okay.
32 ही read किया ना.
1.10.32.
Okay, fine. He will come back. 33rd verse you read later, Prabhu. Arun Sumavada, you read the 32nd. All right.
Hare Krishna. Maharaja Yudhishthira, although no one's enemy, engaged 4 divisions of defense, horse, elephant, chariot, and army to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the Asuras, that's demons. The Maharaja did this because of the enemy and out of affection for the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Venkatesh Avatar Prabhu is lost in the Krishna Leela. Okay, he'll come back to 1.10.33. Okay, anyways, so here in the 32nd verse, it is mentioned that actually Lord Krishna came to protect all of them. And while departing, Yudhishthira Maharaj is arranging soldiers to protect Lord Krishna. So this is nothing but pure affection. It is only out of affection. And to indicate that he is the Lord who protects everyone, the word used is Madhudish. The demon of who killed the Madhu demon. So actually demigods they call Lord to kill the demons, isn't it? But here Yudhishthira Maharaj is trying to protect the Lord. This is purely out of affection. So I'll not go into the purport. But yes, one of the line I'll read. The Lord plays the part of subordinate in his transcendental sporting, and that sometimes he puts himself in the care of Yashodamai for his protection in his so-called helplessness of childhood. That is the transcendental Leela, right? Or pastimes of the Lord. The basic principle for all transcendental exchanges between the Lord and his devotee is exhibited to enjoy the transcendental bliss for which there is no comparison, even up to the level of Brahmanda. That's why those who are fed up with the Brahmananda, they desire to hear the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam like Chatushka Maharaj, Sukdev Goswami. Sukdev Goswami is Brajavasi, Pakka pure Brajavasi, but in his Leela in this world, he is appearing as a Brahmavadi. And is attracted to the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam when he left his home. As soon as he was born, he left the home. Why? Because he didn't want to get entangled. But while going, he heard from a woodcutter the glories of Bhagavatam. Then he asked him. He said that I have heard this from your father. So he came back. The person who renounced his home, he comes back. For what? To hear Bhagavatam from his father Vyasdev. And then that's how he becomes the great Sukadeva Goswami. And he becomes the Vishnu Janapriya. He becomes the most dear to all the Vaishnavas because of this service of narrating Srimad Bhagavatam. And then in the 33rd verse, yes, Venkatesh Avatar Bhumi. Have you got the verse? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Okay, yeah, please read 33rd.
33.
Yeah, 33.
Hare Krishna. Out of profound affection.
Yes, correct. Go ahead.
Out of profound affection for Lord Krishna, the Pandavas, who were of the Kuru dynasty, accompanied him a considerable distance to see him off. They were overwhelmed with the thought of future separation. The Lord, however, persuaded them to return home, and he proceeded towards the Dwarka with his dear companions. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Here one specific word used is Kaurava. Atra Duragatan Shauri Kauravan. So actually Pandavas are Pandavas, but Kauravas, but it was separated by Mamaka Pandava in the first verse of the Gita by Dhritarashtra. Because they belong to Kuru dynasty, therefore Pandavas are none but the Kauravas only. Right? That's what Prabhupada writes. Who were of the Kuru dynasty. So they accompanied him to a specific distance. But beyond that, Lord ordered them to return back. Just like the gopis, they tried to hold on to the chariot. That not chariot, bullock carts. No, sorry, chariot. Yeah, Akrura, he was driving Krishna Balram to Mathura, and then at one point they had to, let go. The chariot moved, and they kept looking at the chariot till the dust raised by the, chariot was was settling. Till that time, they were looking up. And after that, Krishna never returned to Vrindavan. So that's the, personality of Lord Krishna. So he will give you devotion, some taste, and then for next 60, 70 years, you will just, wait for that ecstasy that which you received in the initial few months, few days, few years. But then we have to understand that philosophically, that service in the mood of separation is the highest, that has the highest ecstasy rather than serving in the union. So Vraj gopis or the Vrajvasis, they had, Krishna gave them highest ecstasy. Because then when Krishna was not there, then continuous remembrance of Krishna was there for them. Of course, for us it will be a difficult to attain that stage. We will gradually reach that stage because the Vrajavasis, they are already perfected their lives by, hearing and chanting. So we are yet to, start hearing and chanting. This is just a preparation going on. All over, whatever we are hearing, whatever 16 rounds we are chanting, that is the preparation to chant, preparation to hear more further ahead. That's what I said in the beginning of the class, that when you hear the class, it's not that, okay, as I was telling you about the devotee, okay, that I have heard, now I have to apply. Yes, we have to apply definitely, but part of applying is hearing again, hearing more. Part of chanting is chanting more. Not that I have completed my chanting. No, your chanting is not completed. You have begun the chanting now. We are chanting so that we can chant even more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Because devotional service is unlimited. In the material world, there is always a time factor. Okay, I start my job at 9 o'clock, 5 o'clock it should end. I start my job at the age of 22nd, 23rd, by age of 55 it should end, because there is a timeline. But spiritual world, there is no timeline. It can go on continuously, and Krishna wants that. It's not that Krishna wants to. That's why Krishna doesn't, grow beyond age beyond 16. Otherwise, there will be no Ras Lila if he becomes old. There will be no Bal Lila. There will be no Makhan Lila if Krishna becomes old. The Krishna remains ever young to manifest all these Leelas, right? Yes, 34th and 35th. Vrindavan Lila Mataji. You recite the verse and read the translation.
Yes. Guru Jangala Panchalan Surasnena Sayamuna Brahmavartam Kurukshetram Matsayan Sarasvatanatha Marudhanvam Atikramya Savirabhireo Paran Anaratana Bhargavopagat Charantavaho Manag Vibhu. Translation. O Shaunaka, the Lord then proceeded towards Kurujangala, Panchala, Surasena, the land on the bank of the river Yamuna, Brahmavarta, Kurukshetra, Matsya, Saraswata, the province of the desert and the land of scanty water. After crossing these provinces, he gradually reached the Sauvira, Abhira provinces. Then west of these reached Dwarka at last.
Okay, so all these places, Krishna, when he was traveling, he went through all these places, and Prabhupada in the purport says that the theory of soil experts that the desert developed in recent years is not supported by the statements of Bhagavatam. We may live, but then Prabhupada says that we don't have to go and research all that. He says that we may leave this subject matter for expert geologists to research, because the changing universe has different phases of geological development. We are satisfied that the Lord has now reached his own province, Dwarkadham, from the Kuru provinces. Isn't it? So that's how sometimes we may miss. The purpose of Bhagavatam is not geological or archaeological investigation. That's there. And the scholarly and expert devotees may do that, or outsiders may do that. But our main purpose is to hear the Bhagavatam pastimes and purify our heart and become his devotees. That's the main goal of Bhagavatam. Right? We should not get distracted from that main goal. Then last verse, 36th verse. Kanakanga Chaitanya Prabhu, are you there?
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम।
Please read 36th verse.
यस प्रभु जी। इन प्रांतों से होकर यात्रा करते समय उनका स्वागत किया गया, पूजा की गई, उन्हें विविध भेंटें प्रदान की गई। संध्या समय सारे स्थानों में संध्याकालीन अनुष्ठान कृत्य करने के लिए भगवान अपनी यात्रा स्थगित करते। सूर्यास्त के बाद नियमित रूप से ऐसा किया जाता। थैंक यू प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्णा धन्यवाद।
Hare Krishna. Prabhupada writes, it is said that the Lord observes the religious principles regularly while he was on the journey. So these are the duties for civilized human beings. Sandhya Bandhan and all that. Why such things are given there? One thing is that throughout the day we may not be able to perform. See, this is a part of devotional services, gradually taking us to devotional service. These small things. So one thing is, because we are so much caught up in the material life, we may not be able to do that throughout the day. But in some part of the day, we must do them. It is something like, our life is a journey which has different phases. Like here, the day has different phases: morning, evening, afternoon. And so from morning till evening or night, we are so busy. As soon as the day starts, all our plans for that particular day, it actually completely takes over us. If we do not see, before becoming Hare Krishna devotee, I don't think any of us have regularly, I mean, some of you may have done, at least I don't remember that I have might have regularly visited the temples or done some, Sandhya Vandan or chanting or anything. It was just occasional. Okay, some festival is coming or Sunday is coming or on some evenings. Okay, let's go to that temple. And usually it would be temple of a demigod, not the temple of Lord Vishnu. So devotional service becomes occasional, isn't it? But if we see the Vedic scriptures, all these purificatory rites or rituals, they are given to be performed on daily basis. Why? So that just see, suppose from the morning you start something. By the time of afternoon, if you don't take a small break and try to whatever, some people they may do Gayatri or whatever we may have our sadhana, or we may chant sometime. Prabhupada, when he was in householder life, he would chant 4 rounds in the morning, 4 afternoon, 4 evening, 4 at night, something like that. He would complete 16 rounds. And as a devotee also, we regularly chant in the morning, right? Or if some rounds are left, then we have some specific time prescribed in the daytime or evening time. We chant at that time. Or in the evening, we may worship the deities. Morning, we may do that. So such breaks, it helps us to reorient our consciousness from matter to spirit. Otherwise, from morning to late night, if we are just doing work for the body and mind, our consciousness is only caught up in the matter, and there is no chance for the consciousness to get purified, get reorientated. So when we have some time to chant, or we assign some time for chanting, hearing, then we have some moments to ponder upon. Okay, what is the purpose of life? What is the goal of life? Where I'm supposed to go? You get the direction. Otherwise, we are just moving without any direction. We don't know where we are going, but just going. All these people around the world, they are just moving. There is no goal of life. Where we are going, why we are going. No, just work. Just try to work in the office, get some money, fill your belly, satisfy your mind, and one day die. Finish. We don't know more than that. It's nothing but a living like an animal. That's what they also do. Morning they will rise and they will start, where is food? Where is food? That's their chanting. Prabhupada says in one Hindi lecture that kya bhav hai, kya bhav hai. Right from morning we start inquiring क्या भाव है आज market में, what is the भाव of gold, what is the भाव of this sabji, that cloth, this item, that item. That's a whole day will get finished. Like that whole lifetime will get finished, and we will not realize only. But these small moments, when we take a break, and do some small sadhana, they help us to reorient our consciousness and think whether I'm going in the right direction or not. So that's what Krishna is, is doing, and through his actions, he's setting an example. Prabhupada says that there are certain philosophical speculations that even the Lord is under the obligation of free to action. But actually, this is not the case. He does not depend on the action of any good or bad work. Since the Lord is absolute, everything done by him is good for everyone. But because he is on the earth, to set an example for the human beings, he is performing these obligatory duties apparently for him. Right. Then, the last paragraph Prabhupada writes, the Lord in human society does what is the duty of everyone. But sometimes he does something extraordinary and not to be imitated by the living beings. His acts of evening prayer are stated herein must be followed by the living being, but it is not possible to follow his mountain lifting or dancing with mountain lifting or dancing with the gopis. One cannot imitate the sun, which can exhaust water. See, Prabhupada's purports are so clear always. Therefore, actually, Prabhupada used to say that even if you read the 10th canto or any canto, everywhere you will find the basic philosophy. Either you read the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, first, second, third, any canto, anywhere. That's the safe avenue for conditioned souls to approach Vedic scriptures, especially pastimes of the Lord. One cannot imitate the sun, which can exhaust water even from a filthy place. If you can, then imitate. You can't, so please don't try. The most powerful can do something which is all good, but our imitations of such acts will put us into endless difficulty. Therefore, in all actions, the experienced guide, the spiritual master, who is the manifested mercy of the Lord, should always be consulted, and the path of progress will be assured. So that's how Prabhupada ends this chapter with guideline for us that without association of the devotees, without association of the spiritual master, we are surely going to misunderstand Lord's pastime. We need association of devotees, especially the empowered acharyas and their representatives. In their guidance, we can also depart for Dwarka along with Lord Krishna. And then we can enter into Dwarka in the next chapter with Lord Krishna. That we will see tomorrow. So, yeah, how many verses the next chapter has?
36.
Okay, so we will try to run through. Let's see how it goes. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhishya kripa
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
लकी जय
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण.
So see you tomorrow.
Yes,
Happy Dasara to all of you.
to you also, Prabhu.
Thank you. Please kill the Ravan by
Thank you,
chanting.
Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna for the applause. Hare Krishna.